Hi, I'm Diane Krakora, CEO of PartnerPath. Welcome to this week's Technology Channel videocast. With me, as always, I have my partner in crime, Charlene O'Hanlon, on the less warm but drier coast. How you doing, Charlene?
Doing great, Diane. How are you?
Oh, I'm hanging in there, getting a little tired of the rain in California.
Well, they say it never rains in Southern California. So
yes, but Northern California, it's been raining a lot. All right, so this week we are going to talk a little bit more about the State of Partnering study. Again, just to remind you all, this is a study that we do the end of every year. So between November and December of last year, we fielded about 50 questions to solution providers and the vendor community and had about 200 solution providers response and about 100 vendors. And today we're really going to talk about one of my favorite data points, which I will hopefully share with you. Hold on. Let me see if I can start my screen share.
I can see it.
You can see it.
I can see it.
Wow, lucky me. One success. So this is from the solution providers. Since it's in blue, that's one of our standard kind of processes there. And we asked them how many primary vendors and that drive significant volume do you carry? Vendors do you carry? And I know this looks kind of busy. The dark blue is their answers with primary and the light blue is the secondary. Just to summarize it, on average, it came in about 5 primary vendors and it averaged 10 secondary vendors. So this might be surprising to many of you out there that there are 15, maybe 20 vendors that the solution providers carry.
It doesn't surprise me because, we've been talking for a while about the number of vendors that solution providers are doing business with, and that they had been paring that number down over the last couple of years, at least paring it down with their core group of vendors that they work with. Secondary vendors, I think you have to have a larger number, because if you are having, or if you're billing yourself as a total solutions provider, you're not going to have a one-size-fits-all solution for all of your clients. Everybody's got their own unique situation and their own unique needs. So being able to have the relationship with the correct number of vendors to be able to answer those needs, to address those needs, and to really position yourself as the go-to person for those to address those needs. I think it's important that vendors or that solution providers have a larger stable of secondary vendors to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I think this is not only interesting or relevant around an understanding of how many vendors these guys have, but it then leads to kind of the crux of the conversation for this year, which is around the vendors providing a rich partner experience, right? If the partners are only working with, let's call it 15 to 20 vendors, how do you become one of those, right? How are you one of those key vendors for a solution provider? Because you all call me and ask me how to do this. So, and as part, we're going to dive deeply into this whole conversation around pillars of partner experience. How do you guys as vendors provide a rich experience for your partners? Because that experience leads to engagement, and engagement leads to sales. And they're only engaging with 15 or 20, so the experience really matters here.
Mm-hmm.
So we also asked the solution providers to rate each category of experience and how it affects their relationship with the vendors. And we have 6 categories: from people, enablement, infrastructure, channel model, program policies, and performance metrics. And this graph, hopefully I'm still showing,
Yep.
shows, awesome, shows the disparity on how the partners ranked these 6 categories in terms of how it affects their relationship.
Well, I think it's fascinating, but in a very good way that people ranked the top. It was the highest category that you know that the partners really feel is important in a vendor-partner relationship, and you know it just stands to reason, right? You don't want to work with somebody who's a, you know, I'm not going to say the word, but you don't want to work with somebody who thinks they're better than you, or they put off this attitude that you're not as important to them as another channel partner. That, you know, that whole relationship is very, very important, and it's mutually beneficial, right? If you as a vendor treat your channel partners with respect and you help them become better salespeople and become better solution providers, they're going to give the love right back. It's not something that, you know, it's not going to be this take situation. It's, you know, you give as much as you get, basically.
Yeah, and this week we wanted to talk about the fact that partners are only engaging about 15 to 20 vendors, and to start the conversation around the partner experience to make sure you're one of those. And certainly, as we saw from this last research report, the people came out far and ahead of one of the ways that the solution providers think that really affects their experience with it. Next week, we'll talk a little bit, I think, about the webinar that we're having this week, which is on the people, in terms of we do have a lot more data to drill down into in terms of what the different elements that support that pillar around the people that provide that experience. So next week, we're going to talk more about this in terms of the people, and then we'll share some more data in the Tech Channel video cast throughout the rest of this month, and then a little bit into next month before we start talking about the next pillar, which is enablement.
Cool.
Cool. Thank you, Charlene, for bantering about some more data with me, because I love data and everybody thinks data is boring. So we need you to provide some.
Well, Diane is the data girl, so we'll talk more data next week.
Awesome. Thank you for appeasing me in my data world. Have a great week. I know you're off and about this coming week, so enjoy your travels and may they be safe.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all. See you next week.